What is up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York calling from Zoom again, and this time we got round two with Dakota of Another Day Dawns. Great to be able to talk with you, man. Thanks for coming back on.
Hell yeah, man. Thank you for putting time aside for me, man. It means the world.
Of course, man. It's always great to talk to you. The sequel interview, as I like to call it, because the last time we spoke, it was like, and it was a great conversation, but it was like very general, just talking about the songwriting, how the band formed, all that. We didn't even have really like
Yes.
an album to really promote, but now we got Finding Peace Through All the Noise, which I thought was a really good song title and very thought provoking. Now, for people who haven't heard the full length album, like people who weren't as lucky as me who got to hear this early, but do you feel like the
Yeah.
first singles that we heard so far, such as Hesitate and On Our Own and Bitter, is like a good representation of this whole album, or is that just one little taste?
No, I really do think it's a good representation. All songs that we put out so far are uh, mildly different. They're not all the samey, and we did that, and I believe the whole album is like that as well as a roller coaster. It's not all one kind of style of music, and that's what we wanted to portray in our singles, releasing them. So that's just a little taste of the whole album.
Yeah. Was that roller coaster methodology, was that the vision that you sort of had going into it, or what did it just kind of turn out that way?
Yeah, we always wanted to do that just from the early on band days. Just never wanted to, be stuck in one genre of music. We all four of us come from different backgrounds, so we blend them all together very, very well.
Yeah, definitely. I remember you mentioning that last time as well, because I think one thing I did mention too was the Stranger EP that you had out
Yeah.
previously, and and even with like a album such as A Different Life, in a way, like, does this
Yes.
almost feel like, being that the 2020 you released an EP, but you released a full length in 2019, is like is this more or less the follow up to A Different Life, or is this more or less kind of picking up where it left off after the Stranger EP?
Um, I guess I get asked that a couple times, and I think it honestly just stands on its own because Different Life. We were kids when we recorded that stuff. That was probably one of the maybe first or second ones. We were still like 14, 15, recording and writing that, and then we had the, like you said, Stranger EP, and that was more, we were more developed, not so yet young teenagers anymore. And then now we're grown adults. Now we're 25 and 28, and this is our first record after being signed by a label as well. So it's definitely has a lot more weight on its shoulders, but I feel like you could definitely hear the growth in each of the songs.
Yep, and hey, signing with the label and can change a lot of things for
It
one
really
way or
can.
another. And I feel like when you sign with a label, people who say that you're selling out for that can continue living in their parents' basement forever. But like when you do sign with a label, though, it really is like a new beginning for a band in a way, because it's not just a 4 or 5 collaboration. Now you have a team working behind you in a way. So
Yep.
it seems like every band has more members than Slipknot if you count their whole crew and their team behind
Yep.
you.
Yeah, man. And the cool thing that we love about our label is they're open and free about us picking our team. It's not, they have two guys they work with, so we got to work with those two guys, kind of. And that's what I liked, how open they are with us wanting to do different stuff or step out of the box, and they always support it 100%. And that treats us like family right away. That's a cool feeling.
Yeah, definitely. And with Century by your side too, like huge shout out to everybody there, for starters. Shout out to everybody at Century. And but like they have an interesting roster. I wanted to ask. And I normally refrain from asking this, but like, to be on the same label as Lorna Shore, as Frozen
Yeah.
Soul, as Nasty, as some of the heaviest bands that are out there right
I
now.
know.
Um, I'm just wondering how, and you guys have your heavy elements by no stretch of the means, but I mean, let's be real. I think to a lot of the people who are listening to Lorna Shore, you guys might sound like Creed to them in a way. So I'm just wondering, how did
Yep.
they pick you
Yep.
up?
It's definitely, I feel like they also wanted to go outside the box and get some active rock bands on their roster. Like you said, all those bands, Lorna Shore and all them, they're blowing up outside from radio, outside because they're on TikTok, or like they got the heaviest scream, or who can scream the most, or who can scream the most aggressive, and that's definitely not our style to begin with. We're more of the melodies, and when there's a scream, if it feels like there needs to be a scream, then I'll scream. but it's definitely it's more melodic and more melodies, more driven. And I feel like the label's definitely taken a leap of faith with us, and we're also doing that with them as well. And so far, it's been very, very positive about it.
Yeah, and I mean, Century has Fozzy, they have Lacuna Coil, like they have their fair share of
Yes.
and I feel like the term radio friendly is not really a really good term in a way, because I know people who
Yeah.
will listen to like melodic death metal and say that like that's more radio friendly than, you know, traditional death metal. But like, for lack of better words, like I feel like Century has also had a great record of both past and present of having really good radio bands as well.
Yeah. No, they definitely for sure got that. So we were ecstatic when they came to us. Okay, well,
Yeah.
definitely, and like you said, the label definitely does change things. It could be either for the good or for the bad. In our case, it was definitely for the good.
Yep, I can't wait. But I can't wait for them to do like a Century Media Festival where it's like Frozen Soul and Lorna Shore and like every deathcore and death metal band, and then
Uh,
you guys are somewhere in like the middle there. That would be pretty awesome.
I know. I hope people are open minded if anything ever comes like that. But you'll be surprised because we're out on tour with some heavy acts now, and people like we're like a palate cleanser. You know, it's not just all scream the whole night. There's a heavy band us and then a heavy band after. It's a refreshing breath of fresh air, I like to call it.
Yeah, and I mean, you had Steve Steve, who produced Ice Kills, Emotionless in White, working behind you
Yes.
as well. So like that alone has, you know, a lot of very heavy aspects and a lot of melodic aspects as well. And now you're on the road, you know,
Yes.
with Memphis Mayfire and Atreyu. So like it just seems like that you could kind of go along the spectrum.
Yes, and that's definitely what we wanted. We didn't want to be pinpointed into, oh, these guys are soft rock or these guys are hard rock or metal. We just our whole that's why I said our whole album first song is going to hit you right in the face, and then some songs throughout the middle there. There's good songs just to drive along to and sing and cruise. You know what I mean? And I'm really excited to see what the people think of this.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what the rest think of it as well. And
Yeah, man.
I normally refrain from asking what does the record name mean, but finding peace through all the noise, like I feel like is something that a lot of us, especially myself, living in this freaking city, definitely tends to seek, finding peace through all that noise. But I feel like it is
Yes.
like it could also be kind of like a metaphor or kind of like an expression, finding peace through all the noise, because you know, when I say I can't stand all this noise, I've said that in quiet atmospheres, and it's really just kind of like stress that's going on in your head. So,
Yeah.
was there a specific message? Is this your experience finding peace through all the noise, or is this like kind of like an encouragement or like a message of almost kind of like a how-to album in a way?
It's yeah. It's almost like you said. It's almost a little bit of both. Finding peace through all the noise. It's going. I'm doing it personally from. I'm thinking of the beginning of COVID, so 2020, around then when we were all stuck in our houses. We saw a lot of political shit. We saw a lot of beliefs that were getting shoved down people's throats. Or if you thought this way, then you're wrong. Or if you do this, then you're wrong. And it's just like we just gotta find our own inner selves, and we gotta find the peace through literally all this noise and chaos around us that's going on. And I feel like people are starting to lose themselves, and I feel like that was the biggest message of theirs. Always finding your inner self through all the bullshit that's going on in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you maybe find that piece? Did you have to find that piece before you started making this album, or did you find that piece after the
Absolutely.
album was finished?
That's a good question. At first I was gonna say beginning of it, but now that you said, I was definitely more at ease, and all the weight was off our shoulders after the album because I got everything off my chest I wanted to say. And that's when I really do love the studio, because I'll be in there, and Steve, like you mentioned, Steve Sobchak, he pushes me to my limits in there in the studio, and it definitely helped getting out everything we wanted to say on this record. And yeah, we're really stoked.
Do you almost feel like maybe that noise that you escaped has to come back when you guys make a follow up to this album?
Maybe, but I hope it doesn't come back. But I'm hoping this puts at least the rest of the whole COVID nonsense, like the whole mentally and emotionally aspect to that.
Yeah. Well, as long as if we're
Hope it'll
alive.
close the chapter.
Yeah. Well, they say there's nothing certain except death and taxes. But I think they forgot to put
Yes.
suffering on there as well. We all
Yeah.
suffer one way or another. In fact, I think suffering is more certain than taxes. I know plenty of people who would rather go to jail than to be homeless. So like, you
Yep.
know, like,
Yep.
so you know, I think the certainty of suffering can also really do play an inspiration if you tread carefully when using that.
Yep. Oh, 100%, man. That was a good question. That was the first one I got about the meaning of the record, and that one definitely hit home. So that's
I'm
good.
really glad you like that because for most people I talk to, they always dread that question. So, uh,
No, it was a good one. I was waiting for somebody to ask so I could get that off my chest the correct way, and that was perfectly laid out.
yeah, definitely. And
It
because
was good.
it's a thought provoking album title. No disrespect to all the bands who've done this, but how many times do I
No,
like the meaning of the album title evolution? How many albums have we gotten that
yeah,
word before? Or
yep,
rise, or the gotta quote Jamie Joss's Lyric Police.
yeah. It was almost how everyone's keeping everything short named or one track titled or a self track title. It's like I want something that people are going to remember, and you might have to look up to see what it means, kind of thing. And that's we wanted people to actually put forth the effort. If you're liking our music, then put forth the effort to look up the certain details and everything like that.
Yeah. If and I know I've asked you last year like if you needed to hear the music before any lyrical ideas came through fruition, but depending on what the meaning of the music can be about or depending on what the lyrical context is, could it maybe resonate with you in a different way or maybe channel a different energy depending on what the song is about?
Sure, for sure. Like I said, I know each song that I'm writing about, someone else might be looking at it from a different angle. So I always make sure I keep that in the back of my mind, and that's why I always like. I'm not really too keen on answering, oh, what is this song about or this song about, because someone might look at it differently and say, oh, I thought it was more about this. And it is. It's about it's about whatever the listener is going through at that time. So it was definitely um, I definitely was being cautious and taking my time with it.
I mean, it's funny you mention that because like I feel like some people say, "Oh, it's whatever you want it to be," right? But I feel like that is also sometimes. I'm not accusing you of it, but like it is can be like a cop out answer sometimes. Like you should be able to sort of like explain your art, explain what the message and the meaning is, what you were feeling behind that.
Yeah.
Like so, are but do you think that maybe other people's interpretation of it adds another layer of meaning to it that wasn't there before they experienced it?
Yes, because you might ruin someone's point of view about the song. Like I said, someone might be thinking about it's political, and someone might be thinking about oh, it's about my dead grandma. So it's like, it's whatever you think it is. That's my best answer. Whatever you think it is. I have something it could mean to me about, how my mom wasn't there my whole life or this or that, and then it's someone else connects with it a whole different life that has a mom and dad. So it's like it's we just like making that shit more broad for everybody, not so um, pin seeking, I guess, is whatever the term is.
The evolution, pun intended, the evolution that you guys sort of like, because when you compare a different life to now, I mean, there's a lot of evolution demonstrated on there. Would you say that maybe you sort of like achieved the sound that you were hoping to get with the formation of Another Day Dawns, or was this like, did it kind of, and again, just turn out that way because a lot happened between 2019 and now, so.
Yes, I feel like we're still finding our sound. I feel like we're 90% there. From a different life, we were just getting out of. I said we were kids. We were 14, 15, just getting out of the cover scene. So we were kind of. I don't want to say taking sounds from cover bands we were doing, but we definitely had huge influences from that. So even from Stranger, you could kind of hear our own little roots digging more and more. And then this album, you're definitely gonna be like, okay, this is Another Day Dawns. This is them. They have a little bit of the grunge 90s, but then it's modernized with new technology with it. So it's, um, I think, each album will just slowly get there and get there. And the thing is, we always want to continue to push outside the box because we don't want people to expect to know what to come for next. Because I feel like once somebody knows your next album, it's already done. It's all 10 songs sound the same. I already heard it. Oh, well, here's the soft one, or here's the cool jam one, or here's just the instrumental or something. You know what I mean? We always love throwing that curveball in there.
And this is sort of like a for lack of a better word, sort of like a debate I like to have with artists, where like with the evolution of your sound in a way, is it an evolution or how you evolve as an artist, is that dictated? Do you have control over that? Can you dictate your own destiny, or does evolution just because you never know what's going to happen tomorrow? You never know what next week is going to bring. You never know
Yep.
what you're going to encounter in the studio or with fellow artists. Do you believe that evolution is a very organic thing and you really don't have much of a say over it?
I say a little bit of yes and a little bit of no. I know a lot of producers have a huge say of what your sound is, and that's why we kind of left behind some older producers we worked with just because they were going for the what's in now sound. So they're saying, hey, rock's not really in, metal's not really in, but pop is. So if you guys want to do some pop, we're all right, man. We kind of we know what we, at least our roots, we want to stick to. So it's definitely, I feel like if a good band is with the wrong producer, that could really mess up a lot of shit. So we were very, very picky at finding our man Steve Sobchak, and we also got help from Tom Hain, who works with Motionless as well. And it's I'm very happy and fortunate because, like I said, producers could either make or break you. And luckily, we got to pick who we wanted to work with, and we got so much free range to make sure we wanted to record a sound how we wanted it to sound like.
Definitely. And I feel like too, and this is like the final portion of this interview, but I feel like really the future of music is genreless in a way, to a point. When you look at how
Yep.
bands like I've really compared you guys a lot, not just like, sure, for the journalism's sake, for the sake of introducing guys to people without going off on a tangent. I've referred to you guys as octane rock, like along with the
Yeah.
3 Days Graces or the Breaking Benjamins or whatnot. But
Yeah.
like the experimental nature, like I could compare you guys to maybe like a Bad Omens or a Sleep Token in that regard,
Yeah.
where like you can go full aggressive with breakdowns and screams and whatnot, but then you could deliver like a anthemic, uh, gazy like ballad that you would think was
Hell
written
yeah.
by like a pop star or something
Yeah.
like that. So it seems like I've always said that when you guys get on that Bad Omens tour, that's when everybody's gonna know
Hell yeah.
another day dawns. We got to make that happen one day.
No, man, that would be sick. And like you said, an Octane band, we just recently started getting on there and getting some love from them. And you hear it too, because you hear, like I said, even some radio stations start adding songs and bands that are samey. So it's all bands are trying to go for one specific sound. And then you hear us in there. It's like, oh, these guys are definitely different. I don't hear him going high. I don't hear a breakdown in any song. It's, oh, we like that. And just on this tour alone, we've had 20 to 30 people come up and say, we heard that song on Octane and that song stuck out to us the most. And well, thank you. That's why we're doing what we do, because we're not getting pushed in a corner told, sound like this band, sound like Bad Omens, sound like this, or we're doing our own shit. And it truly feels rewarding to get where we're going, doing what we do, and absolutely love it every step of the way.
Yeah, shout out to Octane too, because they've always been sort of like the gateway for a lot of people getting into classic. Because again, like they're not putting. I mean, I don't want to say never. They've done it a few times, but they're not putting Guns N' Roses or Led Zeppelin or the Rolling Stones on
Yeah.
there. And they're obviously not putting Cannibal Corpse or Morbid Angel on there. But again, with the Seethers or the Disturbs, the 3 Days Graces, later All That Remains or Five Finger, Volbeat, like they've been
Yes.
sort of like a gateway station to people discovering heavier material and people also revisiting classic rock stuff, because when they're putting like Dirty
Yep.
Honey on there or even Greta Van Fleet, like they are getting people more into like a gateway sort of like classic rock background. But then with like when they play like a Seether or like a Breaking Benjamin, I mean, people are into Killswitch Engage because of Breaking Benjamin now and stuff like that. So it seems
Yeah.
like there is like a huge gateway through Octane.
Oh, for sure, man. They got everyone connected with everybody, and I do love that community for that reason. And it's a huge Octane community too. Like I said, we're just gathering fans, 20 to 30 people just from the one song being spun for a week. And I'm thinking, Jesus Christ, man, this is a really good supportive community, and I'm happy just to be on it. And like I said, I'm happy to sound different than every other radio station out there that
Yeah.
plays stuff, man. As long as we stick out to somebody, that's the main thing to me.
And spinning one song is never a bad thing. I know people like, and I'm not
Nope.
saying that this is the path, but like, people like to complain about one-hit wonders or something like that. Try to remember, Hoobastank will forever be able to headline arenas because of
Yeah.
the reason. Otherwise,
Yeah.
they're otherwise great guys. Everybody knows them from Soldiers. Octane is still spinning that song over a decade later, and they're doing just
Hell
fine
yeah.
because of it. So like, if you could get that one song, that one four chord song, you're in
Yeah.
good business.
That's all you need, man. All you need is one song to resonate and connect with people, and like you said, they'll love you forever. And that's what I feel like. Band like Hoobastank, they made that one song, but that song touched so many people and mentally and emotionally that it still hits today. As soon as you hear that piano part, everybody knows, okay, it's about to go down. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's shit like that instead of blended in with everybody. That's the stuff that I like.
Yeah,
I'm
and
rocking with.
they've had other hits too, but like the funniest story of a one hit wonder is the band Europe. I was interviewing I Hate God one time, and they told me that they saw that band Europe play at Hellfest, and they had to open with the final countdown and end with it. So
Oh,
you may not want to have to do that, but
God.
yeah.
Oh yeah, that is the tricky thing with the one hit wonders. You did it once, you could do it again, right? I
No,
feel like if you did it once, you could do it again.
I don't know. They say you have your whole first life to make, or your whole life to make your first record, but the rest of your life to do it again. But you have the rest of your life to make another album, but you never know if it's going to capture the majesty of the one before it or if it's going to be better.
I know.
You know, that's
That's true, and that's true, man. I feel like people too tend to lose the way of the meaning of the band after they have that one hit. Oh, let's change this up. Let's change our whole set. No, man, it worked. It worked for you. Just do go back to what worked. Go back to the drawing board and see what worked for that.
yeah. I mean,
It's
I feel bad too because like when a band puts out a hit single, right? Like they weren't expecting it to be as nobody would expect it to be as big as it is. And even if a producer like says, "Oh, I see this being a hit single," they're lying to you. Okay,
yeah.
nobody
They always say that.
Yeah, yeah. Like, they, so nobody could foresee that. So when they put out that single, and before it starts taking off, they're like, "All right, let's do something a little different. Let's experiment here." And then that becomes successful. They're like, "Oh shit!" Like,
Yeah.
so you kind
I
of
feel
are
that.
damned if you do and damned if you don't. So, there's one band, I'm not going to mention who they are, but their biggest song, they were a very, very, very heavy band. And then their biggest song that was huge, it still gets played on Octane. It's the first song that they had with all singing in it. But they're still a very heavy band. But they've been trying to now to capture the majesty of that all singing material again. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, but you can't repeat that. So,
Yep.
so
That's the thing I hear a lot of the heavier bands, even like Motionless and Bring Me the Horizon. They went from being such heavy, like Warped Tour style bands to playing in, basements, playing in, what I mean, just clubs that people are doing fucking Wall of Death to and everything, and then all of a sudden they come out with like voices and stuff, and that definitely for sure splits the fans up. But I feel they want to go, they want to go. More active rock and more just catchy along the lines of having melodies in their stuff. And I'm a fan of that when bands do that. I know most people aren't, that they think that's selling out, but I feel like they're opening up a new chapter. So when you look back on the band's 50 years, it's not all the same shit
yeah.
going on.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? And I don't know how, like, AC/DC has been putting the same record out, but, their paychecks are a little different. So, like, I don't think they really care. So, before we go, I want to thank you so much for your time and for coming back on the show today. Just, this new album is fantastic. Excellent work. Just anything else.
Thank you, brother.
Just anything else with Another Day Dawns you'd like to promote that you're allowed to say at this very moment, of course.
We're allowed to say we got about 6 more dates left here with Memphis and Atreyu and Catch Your Breath. And then we end it all at Louder Than Life in Kentucky. So we got a lot of stuff coming up. We got a lot of tour talk coming up. And just pay attention to our socials and our Spotify and new music we're releasing. It's coming out.
Hell
we're
yeah.
ready.
That's a hell of a place to end a tour. I was at Louder Than Life. It's going to be mayhem there. So...
Dude, we're so pumped. Yeah. We played there 2020 during the pandemic, and we still had 5,000 to 7,000 people for us. So I'm hoping now, you know what I mean? The pandemic's been done for a little bit, so let's see, bring them out.
That lineup is epic, so I'm pretty sure it will. But
dude, it's crazy, man, to be playing the same stage as Avenged and some of the other bands on there. I know our guitar player's going nuts. He's already getting nervous playing in front of Sinister Gates. He looked up to him his whole life. So it's one of those things. It'll be a pinch yourself moment. We look over, they're chilling on the stage watching, like faint a little bit, but
No,
you know, never know.
nope, no pressure. No pressure. Be careful. There's some musicians who like to fuck with you, and they'll watch you from the side of the stage like this.
Oh, I'm getting scared.
But thank you so much, everybody. We are here with Another Day Dawns, finding peace through all the noise, coming out via Century Media this October. Be sure to pick it up. We'll see you next time on Heavy New York.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time, brother.